Hello and welcome back to our online English class. Today we are going to finish Unit 9, so we're going to go over lessons E and F. So go ahead and open your students' books to page 118. Okay, so let me make this one page. Okay, there we go. So before we read the story, I just want you to look at the first activity here. We're not going to do this whole thing, but I want you to think about an emergency, as it says here. Think about an emergency. So normally when we talk about a story, these are the elements, these are the parts that we include. So who did it happen to? What happened? When did it happen? Where did it happen? Why or how did it happen? Okay, so this is not only for emergencies, but many other stories or situations. We often include these elements. So you don't have to actually state or say a story or emergency, but as we read this story, I want you to think about these elements: who, what, when, where, why, and how. Okay, so they are the common question words as well. Okay, so I'm going to read the story so you can follow along in your book. Okay, the title is Fire in Our Backyard. One evening last summer, my husband and I were preparing dinner together. My husband was cooking outside, and I was setting the table inside. Suddenly, my husband ran into the kitchen and shouted, "There's a fire in the backyard." I ran outside and saw fire in the bushes next to our fence. I was really scared because my 70-year-old parents live next door. Luckily, my husband acted quickly. He called the fire department and then started putting water on the fire. The firefighters arrived quickly, and they easily put out the fire. They said a coal from the barbecue started it. My parents were very surprised when they saw the firefighters. They were watching the news in the living room, and they never knew there was a problem. My father said, "Let's go back and watch the news. Maybe we're on TV." So now let's look at the next page. And you can see these questions that we briefly introduced at the beginning. So I want you to take some time to answer these questions in complete sentences. So I will give you some time, or of course you can pause the video and you can continue when you're finished. So just numbers 1 through 7, okay? Okay, so let's look at number 1. Who is the article about? So you might say, the article is about the author and her husband, or the author and her family, since it includes her parents as well. Okay, and then number 2, when did it happen? When did it happen? So we could say, it happened one evening last summer, just like the introduction. It happened one evening last summer. And then number 3, where did it happen? Where? Okay, so we can say it happened at their home, or we can be more specific and we can say it happened outside their home, or it happened in their backyard, because you can see it says fire in our backyard. So it happened in their backyard, Okay, and then number 4, what were the people doing when the emergency started? So you have to use past continuous tense, as we learned. Okay, so let's see, what were the people doing? We could say they were getting ready for dinner when the emergency started. Okay, or you could say the author's husband was cooking outside and the author was setting the table. So if you want to be more specific, you can say that. or you can summarize the information and you can just say they were getting ready for dinner, and you can include when the emergency started. So just as a reminder, we normally use past continuous tense together with past tense. So this is the interruption, and this is what was happening already during that time. Okay, so number 5, what was the emergency? So we could just keep it simple, and we could say the fire was the emergency. The fire was the emergency, or we can explain the situation in a sentence. We could say the bushes next to their house caught on fire. The bushes next to their house caught on fire. Okay, or we could say that the author saw fire in the bushes next to their fence. Okay, and then number 6, why was the writer scared? Why was the writer scared? Okay, so author, writer, same thing. And we can say the writer or the author was scared because her parents, or her 70-year-old parents, live next door. So the writer was scared because her 70-year-old parents live next door. And then number 7, how did the article end? So we could say the article ended well because no one got hurt, or the article ended well and everyone was safe. So again, you could say it ended well and no one got hurt. It ended well and the fire was put out. Okay, so put out is what we normally use for fire, and it's a phrasal verb, put out. So we could say put the fire out, or put it out, or we could say put out the fire. So if you remember phrasal verbs, we learned them very recently, and that's a common one we use, put out. Okay, so you could say the article ended well and the fire was put out. Okay, we're going to skip the rest of this page, but if you have the time, then you can do it on your own. It's good practice. And as you know, we always use these question words, and I always ask you to make questions, so it's good practice. So again, if you have time, you can do it. But we are going to do this worksheet here. Okay, so this time, instead of making answers or writing sentences, we are going to write questions. We're going to make questions. Okay, so let's read the story. Let me zoom in. Okay, and we're going to use what, where, when, why, or how. Okay, so I'll give you some time to read the story, and you can go ahead and answer the question, or I'm sorry, not answer, make questions for these answers. Okay, so you can pause the video and continue when you are finished. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the story together. I'm going to read it so you can follow along. The title is Rabbit Rescue. 2 days ago, I was walking near the lake when I saw a woman with a big dog. The dog was chasing after a rabbit. The rabbit was scared and jumped into the lake. Then the dog jumped into the lake and swam after the rabbit. The dog's owner was very worried and started to call the dog. I stood with her by the side of the lake to see what would happen. When the rabbit got to the middle of the lake, it started to feel tired. By then, the dog was near the rabbit. So the rabbit jumped on the dog's back, and the dog swam back with the rabbit on its back. They both got back safely, very wet and tired. This is pretty silly story, but I hope you enjoyed doing this activity. So let's look at the sentences. So the answer is, the story is about a woman, a rabbit, and a dog. So the question is, what is the story about? Okay, and then number 2, the answer is 2 days ago. So we can ask, when did it happen? Okay, or when did the story happen? Okay, and then the next one, number 3, near the lake. Okay, so for this one we can say, where did it happen? Or where did the story happen? And then number 4, she was walking her dog. Okay, so for this one we could say, what was the woman doing? And if you want, you can include what happened. You could say, when her dog, let me see, let's move it down here, started chasing after a rabbit. Okay. Okay, so the simple question is just, what was the woman doing? Okay, and that's good enough. But if you want, you can include when her dog started chasing after a rabbit. Okay, but just because there's not enough space, I'm going to delete it for now. But you already understand, so that's fine. Okay, and then number 5, the dog chased a rabbit into the lake. Okay, so actually this question, or this answer, already includes what happened, so we don't have to put it here at the end of this question. So we can just say, what happened? There we go. So what happened? Okay. And this is the question that we used for the story in our student's book. But if you want, you could also say, what did the dog or her dog do? This is okay too. It makes sense. What did her dog do? Okay. And then number 6, the answer is, because her dog was swimming in the lake. Okay. And because is a big hint that we should use why. So why, and if we look at the information from the article, from the story, we can see the dog's owner was very worried, because here we see that the dog swam after the rabbit. So why was the dog's, or you could say the woman, the dog's owner, worried? Okay, why was the dog's owner worried? And then the last one, the dog saved the rabbit. Okay, so we could say, what happened in the end? Or we could also say, actually, let me see. Yeah, we have to use how. So this is where we would use how. We could say, how did the story end? Or you could also say, what happened in the end? Let me move this. Okay. Okay, so, excuse me. Now, I want to do another activity, another worksheet, I mean. And this is actually a partner activity. As you can see, there's a student A and a student B, but this is enough information. We can see a police report and a date and a crime, and then we can see 3 situations using past continuous tense. So these are sentences describing what these people were doing at 9 p.m. last night. Okay, so we are going to use student B's information here of these 3 people, Joyce, Connie, and Sylvia. So don't worry about the directions. Just disregard the directions because we are not going to use student A's information. Then I would have to scroll up and down and up and down. So we can just use this information here. Okay, so just like the 2 stories we practiced earlier, we are going to use question words to make questions about the information we have here. So you can use who, what, when, and some of them you may not use, like there's no information about how or where, or why, so you don't need to use those, but take some time to make questions for each of the sentences or information that you can see, and also answer them. Okay, so don't worry about these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Just look at the information that you see, okay, and make questions and answers using complete sentences. Actually, they are all complete sentences anyway, so just make questions. Okay, so you can pause the video and continue when you're finished. Okay, so let's make a question about the date. So we can say, when did the crime happen? When did the crime happen? Or just when did it happen? That's fine too. So we can say, it happened on November 12th, 2013. Okay, or 2013. So it happened, or the crime happened on November 12th, 2013. So remember, for dates, we use on. Okay? And then we can ask for the crime, what happened? What happened? And the answer, of course, is someone stole Sarah's necklace around 9 p.m. last night. Okay? And if you want, you can also say, what was stolen? Or what did someone steal? Okay? So what was stolen, or what did someone steal? But that's just more specific information. So if you want to say this whole sentence, then the better question is, what happened? Okay, and then we can ask questions about each of these people. So we can say, at 9 p.m. last night, what was Joyce doing? Or we can say, what was Joyce doing at 9 p.m. last night? So this is a past continuous question. So this is what was happening when someone stole Sarah's necklace. Okay, so the second question, or not the second question, but for the second person, we can ask, what was Connie doing at 9 p.m. last night? Or, at 9 p.m. last night, what was Connie doing? And then finally, what was Sylvia doing at 9 p.m. last night? Okay, so we can make these questions and answers. And then now, let's find out who actually stole Sarah's necklace. Okay, so if you look at the pictures down here, let's see who was telling the truth, or who was not telling the truth. So let's see, was Joyce eating cookies? And yeah, we can see that she was eating cookies. So we can say Joyce was eating cookies at 9 p.m. last night. Okay, and we can see the clock there too. So yes, she's telling the truth. And then the next one, Connie. We can say, was Connie talking to her friend on the phone last night? And we can say, yes, she was. So if you look at the picture, oops, close that. Connie was talking to her friend on the phone at 9 p.m. last night. You can see the time here. What about Sylvia? So was Sylvia washing the dishes at 9 p.m. last night? Okay, yeah, and you can answer, no, she wasn't. She was not, or she wasn't washing the dishes at 9 p.m. last night. So Who was not telling the truth? Who was not telling the truth? Or you can see here, which person was not telling the truth? And the answer is Sylvia was not telling the truth. So we know that the answer to this crime, who stole Sarah's necklace? Who stole Sarah's necklace? And the answer is Sylvia stole Sarah's necklace. Okay, so you can go ahead and go to part 2 of this lesson, part 2.